Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Gals podcast. Sharon Vornholt is your host and the creator of the Louisville Gals Real Estate blog, where you will learn how to become a savvy real estate investor, make money, build streams of passive income, and create a lifestyle and a business you love. Whether you're a seasoned real estate investor or just getting started, this show is for you. Now, let's talk real estate investing.
This is Sharon Vornholt of the Louisville Gals Real Estate blog here today with another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. My guest today is someone that I'm sure most of you are familiar with, and his name is Larry Goins. Now, Larry's been investing in real estate for over 20 years, and he travels around the country speaking to groups about real estate investing. I personally have heard him speak several times since I first started investing way back in 1998. Larry currently buys about 10 to 15 houses every month, and I'm really happy to have him share his knowledge about HUD houses today, which is one of the strategies he uses in his business. Not only is Larry an active real estate investor, he's a coach, a mentor, and he's the past president of the Metrolina Real Estate Investors Association in Charlotte, North Carolina, just to name a few things. He has a really long bio, so I'm going to have get Larry on the show, and then I'm going to have him tell you a little bit more about himself. So welcome to the show, Larry.
Hey, what's going on, Sharon? How have you been?
Great. I'm really excited about this show today because for as long as I've been investing, HUD houses is not something that I've ever really done. So I'm anxious to learn exactly how you do this, and I'd like to start out by just having you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your business. And as I remember, you're from an area that I love. You're from the South Carolina area.
Yeah, we're actually from a little town called Lake Wylie, South Carolina, which is right across the state line from Charlotte, North Carolina. And we are actually one of the largest buyers of HUD houses in the Carolinas. In fact, North Carolina's HUD attorney told us we were the largest buyer of HUD houses in the Carolinas. So we got that going for us.
Wow, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So I know I've read that you tried real estate several times before you became successful. Can you tell us what you did different the last time that led to your success, and how long did it take you to figure it all out?
Well, I, like a lot of people, have, been to the seminars, been to the boot camps. I've done many, many different things and read plenty of books. And everything that everybody teaches you, Sharon, you got to go out there and do it yourself. Mm-hmm. And the thing I realized is most people who are doing real estate, they already have a full-time job that they're trying to get out of. That's why they want to do real estate. Well, the problem is everything everybody teaches you, real estate becomes a second job. Mm-hmm. And now you're working nights and weekends. Well, see, most people, they didn't want their first job, but now they have two. So I read, you like that, huh? I read this book by Michael Gerber called The Email. And Michael Gerber says if you have a business and it can't run without you, you don't really have a business. What you have is a job. Mm-hmm. So I read his book, and I went in and I started learning how to automate real estate. I started learning how to bring in other people, how to do everything I could do by phone, fax, FedEx, email, and internet. And I came up with this little 9-step system. And it's what we've been doing in our business and how we base all of our training and that sort of thing. And it's worked really, really well for us. And now we've done deals actually in 11 different states right from our office in Lake Wylie. Now, although we focus on the Carolinas, I have done deals in 11 states total.
Okay. Now, I know you do HUD, you work with HUD houses, but I'm sure you do some other types of investing in other niches, don't you?
Oh, sure. I mean, we do direct mail to owners, to absentee owners. We work the Craigslist. We work REOs, foreclosures, listed property, unlisted properties. You name it. We've got a lot of different sources, but we do buy a lot. And I mean a lot of HUD houses. Of HUD
houses. Well, I just, I was telling you this before we got started, but I actually read Larry's book, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But I was amazed at some of this, the ways that all comes together. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So Now, what part did technology play in you being able to automate to be able to get your business to where it wasn't a job, that it was an actual real business?
Well, technology scares a lot of people. It even scares me. And the challenge that you run into is, a lot of people think, oh, if I can just get this latest software or this latest CRM or whatever it is, then I can just hit the ground running. Well, the problem is that, technology scares me, but technology is good, but it can also slow you down. If you're trying to learn a system and, either you're going to win or the technology's going to win. But you need to learn to use technology to grow your business and not let it take over you and not let it run you. And there's a lot of different things that we do, like, using text blast and voice blast to our buyers list, setting up database and autoresponders with automatic follow-up for our buyers and property sellers and realtors and other investors. So there's a lot of different ways you can use technology, but you got to bring it down to a simple level. And that's kind of what I've done is I've kind of brought it down to an easy, simple, easy to understand way to be able to use it in your business so it's not running you and you're actually using it.
Yeah, I think people get hung up on it. It's really tough for some people, but what I have found in my own business is to just not look at the big picture of all these things that you need to learn, but just take one thing at a time and implement them. Because if you don't start to implement them when your business is smaller, you're going to really be in trouble. When you have a big business like yours, you're just not going to be able to manage it all.
That's true. It can really scare you. Either you're going to run technology or it's going to run you.
One or the other, for sure.
That's for sure.
So you have a simple 9-step system that you use in your business. So tell me about this, and everybody might want to take out a pencil and paper and write this down.
Yeah, we do have a little 9-step system that we go through. And, the first thing you got to do is you got to learn to analyze, okay? You got to learn to analyze. And, if you don't really know what is a deal, you're going to you don't really know how much to offer. So what we like to do is we wholesale a lot of our properties, so we like to sell them at 70% of the after repaired value, and that includes purchase, repairs, and closing cost. And so you take the ARV, after repaired value, times 0.7, and then you minus out all the cost and minus out what you want to make, and that leaves you with exactly how much you can pay for the property. Now, if you're going to keep it and rehab it or keep it and fix it up and sell it, you can pay a little bit more, but if you're going to wholesale it, you got to take your wholesale fee out of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you do. And I think that's a hard concept when, for some people, when they'll send me deals and say, I've done this and I've taken this out, and they'll say, but you've forgotten your profit. And suddenly they realize they haven't really bought the house. Their offer doesn't really reflect where it needs to be. If you pay too much, you're just stuck right from the get-go.
Right. Exactly. That's so true. That's so true. You got to learn how to analyze your deal. Otherwise, you don't really know how much to make an offer on a property. And if you don't know how to make an offer, all you're really doing is having conversations. And you can't buy houses having conversations. You got to buy houses making offers.
That's right. You can go and look at a million houses, but if you don't start making offers, you're not going to ever buy a house. That's
for sure.
Now, don't you have some sort of a free property analyzer over on your site that you use?
I do. In fact, for everybody on this podcast, I think we're giving away a free book that you twisted my arm about. But we're giving away a free book, and one of the bonuses in that book is a free property analyzer to help you analyze your deals literally in 2 seconds flat.
Great. Yeah, that'll be a really big help to a lot of people. It's just, for whatever reason, it's hard for people to get that whole formula thing down in their mind and figure the repairs and do all of that, which you have to do. So once you have, but before you can ever analyze a deal, you have to find a house. You have to find a deal. So what are some of the ways you go about locating houses, finding deals?
Well, one of the big ways, as you know, is HUD. But we also work with a lot of REO properties. You want to find a good agent in a good area. and have that agent go out there and work for you. But we also do some direct mail, and we do our direct mail to non-owner occupied properties that have owned the property at least 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love direct mail. Gosh, I've been around a long time too, and I can remember back before you had all of these online tools, and direct mail was a staple, and investors like to refer to direct mail sometimes as some of the old school ways of doing real estate. But direct mail is still one of my number one sources of leads. It has always been a way to target, like you said, absentee owners or very specific niches of people that you wouldn't otherwise be able to find, like online, like a HUD house.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Now you find deals online, obviously, in the ways you said. So online, do you do anything, or offline, do you do anything other than direct mail? Do you do any kind of advertising or anything like that?
Well, we don't really do a whole lot of advertising and marketing. Of course, we have our bandit signs that we put out everywhere we go and get a property under contract. We're not only putting out signs to sell that property, but we are also putting out signs to buy properties so we can get some more properties in that area, if that makes sense.
That does, and it makes a lot more sense than just driving around the city and hammering up some bandit signs all over the place and getting a lot of angry calls from the code officials.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We've gotten a lot of good deals from code enforcement. That's another good source right there. Find the properties that are under code violation and go talk to the building inspector, and that's public information, and you can get the information of the owner right from them.
That's a great idea. And a lot of those houses will be properties you might not be interested in, but there will also be some good houses in there that the people, for whatever reason, they don't have the money to fix it up. Maybe they inherited it, or they'll have another reason, but they've just kind of let it go, and that's a great source of leads too. So
You're exactly right.
Yeah, once you find a property and you start to negotiate, boy, this is something that really hangs people up. Now, I've heard that you're really a good negotiator, but it's a challenge especially for new investors. They are like shrinking violets. So can you give them some suggestions, some tips here for negotiating?
Absolutely. The first thing is, in negotiating, I want to tell people that to be a really, really good real estate investor, you've got to be a good negotiator. Now, the good thing is a good script will help you to fake it till you make it. That's very, very important. A good script will help you fake it till you make it. So if you've got a good script, it helps you to, number one, build rapport, because people do business with people they like and trust. That's very, very important. People do business with people they like and trust. So you got to build that rapport. Another thing you can do is mirror and match the person. Like, for example, if somebody calls you up and they say, hey, I was calling about the postcard I got in the mail about you buy houses. Well, you can't get on the phone and go, hey, how you doing? I really appreciate you calling. But on the other hand, if they call up and say, yeah, I got this postcard in the mail and wanted to see what that was about. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to say, yeah, how you doing? How you doing? Yeah, let me tell you what we're doing here. You got to mirror and match people, because people do business with people they like and trust. And the way to do it is in the speed that you talk to them, the voice inflection. Use words. If they use specific words, now I'm not talking about foul language or anything, but if they use specific words or phrases like yeah, buddy, or something like that, you're going to use them right back to them. And it gets people to like you and trust you, and it builds that rapport. Does that make sense?
I think it really does. And, I think anybody that's been doing this for a while, you probably do that almost automatically. You don't even really think about it. But it's something that I'll bet very few newer investors ever have given any thought to. For these really rambunctious people, they might need to just tone it down a bit when they get one of the laid-back Southern type sellers, or quiet, one with a quiet demeanor.
Some people are so over the top, it blows you away.
Yeah, I think you can really make the person uncomfortable on the phone if you don't match their demeanor.
You know, it really does. Well, that's just another part of being able to get people to like you and trust you. People like people who are like themselves. That's another thing to remember. That's
absolutely right. So that's a really important fact to remember. So when you get them on the phone and you've done this initial, like you said, building this rapport, people get stuck if they make an offer. A lot of people just walk away from it. There really is no negotiation. They don't know how to go back. So you have some tips for that?
There's a couple of things you could do. You know, I never want the person to think that I want the deal more than they do. So even if you know, if I said, okay, well, you know, if you change your mind, call me back in a few days or whatever, I might call them back, but the very first thing I'm going to say is, you know, I wasn't really sure if I was supposed to call you or you were supposed to call me, but I didn't want you to think I forgot about you, so I figured I better give you a call. By the way, have you sold your house yet? And usually what's the answer? No.
No.
You know? Yeah, exactly. So that's an opener right there, but it lets them know that all you're trying to do is be respectful and follow up like you said you would, but you don't really remember if you were supposed to call them or they were supposed to call you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great idea and a great tip for folks, because I think oftentimes they just don't know how to start the conversation. And one thing I do a lot of times is, you know, when I'm in the conversation, I've made an offer and they've said, well, I don't think I can take that. You know, I'll say to them, well, you know, I'll check back with you later, but maybe you can think of me as being your plan B. If your plan A doesn't work out, then and if you want to list the house or whatever you decide to do, that's great, and I wish you luck. But maybe I can be your plan B. And I think it makes them less afraid to call you back and say, well, I've really messed up. I haven't sold my house.
Yeah, that's true, but you also want to do a little takeaway and say, you know, it's possible that I could be your plan B, but just remember, I only have so much money to work with, and right now I'm looking at 3 other properties. So, you know, if you're thinking about it, you might want to think about it. If you're thinking about going this direction or whatever, don't wait too long, because there's a good chance I might not be in a position to be able to take advantage of helping you out at the time you call me back if you wait too long, because I only have so much money to work with.
That's a good point, and I like when you said help you out. It's not that you're needing their house. You're trying to help them out.
Exactly, and that's the way you always want to do it. One of the things that I try to keep in mind is you want to camp out in the head of your prospect. What do they want to hear? And then just tell them what they want to hear.
That's a great tip. Camp out in the head. I'll have to remember that one. Now, let's talk about contracts. Do you use, I don't think I know the answer to this question. Are you a licensed real estate agent, or?
Well, I do have a real estate license, although it is inactive. I'm not an active real estate broker or agent, but, you know, I'm a firm believer. I like to use the bar-approved form in any deal that I'm doing, especially like if I'm working with a for sale by owner or an individual and not going through a realtor, you know, because if the seller comes up and says, you know, I would like to have my attorney review this document, you know, the first thing I'm going to say is, you know, I think that's a really, really good idea. I do advise people to seek their own counsel. In fact, let me just ask you a question, just to clarify, as long as your attorney sees that this is a legal binding agreement and that it's a cash agreement and there's no risk on your part, are you comfortable with the price and terms that we've agreed to? So, see, I want to tie that down.
Want to tie it down.
And then the second thing I'm going to do is say, by the way, be sure and let your attorney know that this is the same real estate agreement that every licensed realtor in the state of whatever uses for every real estate transaction that they use. So it's not an agreement that I created that's one-sided. It's the same agreement that every realtor uses. By the way, let me ask you a question. How much does your attorney charge to review documents for you?
Great idea. Yeah. I bet that gets a lot of them off of that whole line of thought, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. And if they say, oh, my attorney doesn't charge anything, wow, could I get their name and number? Because my attorney usually charges anywhere from $100 to $250 to review a document.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, I know in this area, if you're, especially for folks that are not licensed real estate agents, we tend to use more of an investor contract, a simpler contract. But the ones that are licensed agents often use the Board of Realtor contract.
Right.
Now, tell me about how you handle inspections without visiting the property. Do you have boots on the ground, or how do you do that?
Well, there's a couple different ways you can do that. You can go online and you can find a licensed home inspector to go out and do an inspection of the property. That's really not going to do a whole lot to tell you the amount that it's going to need for paint and carpet and all that. There's also services out there that even realtors use to go out and take pictures of properties that you can do. You can also hire somebody off of Craigslist. Run you a Craigslist ad that says, I need somebody to go by and take pictures of a house and do a write-up. And you just give them a little sheet, whatever it is you want. Are there any vacancies on the street? If so, how many? What are the addresses? Take pictures of the houses on either side and across the street, a street view. Take pictures of every room, any repair areas, all mechanical items, all four sides of the house, backyard, front yard view, street view, all that stuff. And you could also have contractors go out and write up an estimate as to what you want to have done, or write it up. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to use our own form, which you'll see in the book. We use our own form to have the contractor go out there, so that way everybody is comparing apples to apples. Like our form lists everything in the house from the inside out, from the ground up. There's a place for labor, material. There's a place for everything. So there's even questions that we have the contractor answer, like, you'll love this one. Is there any way within the existing square footage to add a bedroom or a bath or a half bath? Because if I can take a 3-1 and turn it into a 3-2, I've increased the value. If I can take a 3-2 and turn it into a 4-2, I've increased the value. So I think that's very, very important.
Yeah, that's very important. I've just had a hard time wrapping my brain around this because I owned and operated a home inspection company for 17 years, and the whole idea of having somebody else look at those houses just is a really scary prospect for me. Wondering if they normally get it all? Do they get it right? I guess is the question I'm wanting to ask.
Well, is it going to be right every time? No, but see, we don't just get a contractor, or we don't just get a home inspection, or we don't just hire somebody to take pictures. We will get a rehab estimate. We will get somebody to go in and take all the pictures. We'll get a limited home inspection. And we'll get the realtor to go out there and look at all the list of repairs and say, is this all the repairs that you think that this property needs to have done to get it in a good, sellable condition where we can sell it short term? And then we'll get feedback from everybody, and then we'll come to our own conclusion.
Okay. Then how long would this process typically take on a house to get everybody out there?
It kind of depends, but what we try to do whenever we get a property under contract, we try to get a 15-day inspection or due diligence period.
Oh, okay. That makes a difference then.
Yeah. Now, with HUD, though, there is no due diligence period, but we still do our due diligence. It's just there is no due diligence period.
Right. So, yeah. But it's, you can learn a lot from the comps and things like that, but you rarely can learn everything. So it sounds like you've got a good procedure down there. Yeah, I would say you do. Now when it's time to sell the property, these homes, if they're not in your area, do you have realtors that you work with all the time, certain ones you work with over and over?
Well, anytime we're calling about a property, unless a realtor sent it to us, what we're doing is we are calling about the property, and we're we're calling about the property, but we're calling the listing agent unless a buyer's agent sent it to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're calling the listing agent for two reasons. Number one, we want to find out, is this an agent that I can work with? And number two, is this a property that I can buy?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how do you sell a house in less than 2 hours when you get ready to sell it?
Well, the key to selling a house in 2 hours is that it's much easier to find a house for a buyer than a buyer for a house. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is we have our buyers lined up ready to buy houses. We've gone out and built our buyers list, whether it be through the RIA group or online or on Craigslist or with the signs that we put out or whatever. So by the time we start doing our due diligence, we get all of our due diligence done, we know that it's a deal, then we're going to put the house out to our buyers list by sending emails, text blast, voice blast. Of course, they have to opt in. And then we typically have a buyer lined up within a couple of hours. And then on the very day that we're going to buy that property, we line up our buyer to buy that property from us the exact same day. So I call it real estate day trading, and that's actually another book that I wrote called Getting Started in Real Estate Day Trading, and it's in bookstores everywhere as well.
Okay, so you're double closing on everything.
Well, it depends. You know, sometimes we do assignments, sometimes we double close, sometimes we buy it at 10 o'clock and then sell it at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, you do. Most of the time, though, you're doing, unless you're holding on to it, you're doing some sort of a simultaneous close, whether it's an assignment
We're doing some sort of a back-to-back closing where we're buying it and selling it or assigning it or, in fact, there's many, many different ways to close and fund on a deal without using your own money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that, and that's the strategy I use 100% of the time, and it doesn't get any better than walking into your closing company without money, without having to take money, but you leave with a nice big check. It just doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about automation, Larry. How do you set up your computer and automate your business? How could someone else replicate what you do?
Well, there's a lot of little simple things you can do. Like in some of my training, I have this set of bookmarks that's basically organized into different tabs. Where you know how you can set up favorites, you can set up groups of favorites. I've set up groups for everything from newspapers to finding rehab contractors, attorneys, title companies, home inspectors, places to build your buyers list, finding appraisers. Pretty much anything that you absolutely need, it's in there. And just set up groups and like newspapers. Say you want to start looking into newspapers in Dubuque, Iowa. Well, you can go to one of the newspaper sites. NewsLink is one of them. News Directory is one. And you go to one of those links, and then you just pick a state, and then you list all the different newspapers, the dailies, the weeklies, the community papers, the college papers, whatever, and then you just search the classifieds from there. And that's just one little simple way. Like free classified sites. Everybody's heard of Craigslist, but there's really over 200 different classified sites that you can use to basically find properties and post your own ads. Sites like not only Craigslist, but Backpage and Oodle and Vast and Postlets and PropBot, and there's just so many of them out there. So that's just one little way that we use to kind of help automate. We also set up databases and autoresponders, and we use voice blast and text blast. There's a lot of services out there you can use like CallFire or Call8. That's KALL and the number 8.com or callfire.com. There's just a lot of services out there that you can use. Some are free, some charge you, but there's all kind of little things you can use to automate your business and use technology to help you instead of slowing you down.
Do you use something like when you're making all your bookmarks in your groups, do you use something like Evernote, or do you just do that in your computer?
Well, I do use Evernote, but I do not use it for bookmarks. But anybody can go in and create just go into your browser and, create a group and then just start filling it up. Like like there's this group that I have for to find rehab contractors. I don't care if I got a house up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Literally within 15 minutes, I could have 3 licensed, bonded, insured, pre-screened contractors calling me to want to go out and give me a free price.
Wow, that's quite a big deal there.
It's huge. It really is.
Yeah, because just stop and think about it. If you bought a house in Philly and you had none of that set up, my gosh, the chore it would be to vet those people.
Yeah.
That's really enormous. I'm not familiar with Call 8 now. I know about call8.com.
It's just another service that you can use for an answering service or a voice blasting, text blasting, and you can use it as a call capture service as well, where people call in and leave voicemail. And the neat thing with call capture is if someone has a private number, it's not going to be blocked on a call capture service. So even if they may have a private number and they call off of your ad or flyer or postcard or whatever, even if they get the voicemail and hang up, it will send you, or Call 8 or Call Fire will send you their phone number so you can call them back.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Now, do you use a particular service for your text blast and your voice blast? You mentioned that they opt into that. So
yeah, there's a lot of different ones you can use. There's one that we use called VoiceShot.com, and that's probably one of the major ones. There's another one like for voice blast and for answering services. Freedom Voice is a good one. There's several of them out there. You can even Google it to find some of them.
Yeah, okay. That gives people somewhere to start to look for some of these. So I guess we're down to like the 9th step would be to duplicate. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, this is the part where you start bringing in other people to help you to be able to run your business for you. And there's several different ways you could do it. You can bring in a spouse, a partner, or, a teenager or whatever. You can hire an employee, or you can hire a virtual assistant, a VA. We have several VAs. We actually have both. We have employees and we have virtual assistants. You can hire a VA for literally $1 or $2 an hour, and a VA can take calls for you. They can make calls. They can make offers. They can create flyers. They can post your ads. They can search for ads. They can negotiate deals. They can fill out contracts. They can arrange for the inspections or the rehab estimates. They can pretty much do it all. And so it's, and you can get them for $1 or $2 an hour. There's several websites you can go to, like Odesk, ODESK.com. There's also bestjobs.ph. This is where you're going to find one full-time. And there's guru.com. There's hiremymom.com. There's just a lot of them out there. But my favorite is probably Odesk.
Yeah, I've had good luck with Odesk. And I've noticed recently I was looking on there for someone to do a particular thing, list scrubbing, which is a very tiresome job. And there are actually people on Odesk that have done that are in a different country, which I find some of their skills are just amazing considering they don't live in the United States.
Well, a lot of times they're used to working for either real estate investors or real estate agents or whatever in the States, so they're already familiar with that.
Yeah. It's even, I've noticed even a difference in the past couple of years. There just seem to be a lot more VAs that are highly trained. So that is a great resource that Larry has given that you really need to check out, because if you think you can't hire somebody, you probably can find somebody on Odesk that you can afford. And not everybody starts out getting a whole big staff of people or even having a full-time VA. You have to take baby steps when you're doing this and do a little as you can.
Exactly.
Well, Larry, I want to talk about your book here a little bit. You have a free gift for all the listeners, your new book called HUD Homes Half Off. Would you like to tell everybody about that?
Yeah, I do have a new book called HUD Homes Half Off. It's how to buy a HUD house at 50, 40, even 30% of list price, just like we do. And as I mentioned, we are the largest buyer of HUD houses in the Carolinas. And you can get a free copy by going to this special webpage, freehudbook.com/Sharon. That way, you're going to get the book and all the bonuses, and the bonuses include software, a spreadsheet we use to make all of our offers, as well as other video and audio training as well.
That's just awesome. And I have to tell everybody that's listening to this, when I first thought about HUD homes, like I said, I've been investing since 1998, but that's one place I never went, was down the HUD path. And I read Larry's book on a flight recently, and I can tell you from the perspective of someone who has been investing for over 15 years but had no knowledge of HUD homes, this book is a great source of information. And Larry did a great job of demystifying the whole process, which if you're not familiar with the HUD system, it seems kind of overwhelming. As I remember in there, the bidding closes on, you place your bid on a HUD house the period of a particular day, and then that bidding closes that night. Did I read that? I think I'm understanding that correctly.
That is correct. All HUD houses all HUD listings expire at midnight. And we basically make an offer on every HUD house in the Carolinas every day.
Wow.
So, and we start low and work our way up. We go up 1% a day. Like if we start at 19%, we'll go next day 20%, 21, 22, till we reach our max.
That's a great formula. And so by having this one piece of information, that alone tells you that HUD houses are a great niche to work in, because you're not, your bid isn't sitting up there on somebody's desk like a lot of other strategies, and you're waiting till someone finds it or gets to it, or they approve it or they don't approve it. It's all over and done in one day, and you can start fresh the next day. I love that aspect about the whole HUD process.
Yeah, and it's all done online. You do have to have a real estate agent submit your offers for you, but we actually have a real estate agent that has a VA that just sits at the computer all day long making offers on HUD houses.
Wow, that's just amazing. So last but not least, Larry, do you have I want to give everybody a website address where they can come and find out more about your services and what you have to offer folks?
Oh, yeah. They could get the HUD book, of course, at freehudbook.com/Sharon. But there's a lot of free education and training at LarryGoins.com. That's LarryGoins.com. So they can check that out. There's a lot of video, audio, training, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, as I said in the beginning, Larry's he's been a coach and a mentor for a long time now, and he really, really knows his stuff. So I'll put all these links in the blog post, and so you don't have to try to write everything down and remember everything right at this moment. Larry, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. You always give a lot of great information.
Well, Sharon, I really appreciate you having me on the show today. It's really been a lot of fun. I really appreciate it, and I hope everybody got a lot out of it. And be sure and tell them to run over there and grab that book while we have that site still up.
I will do that, and I'll tell our buddy Mike Butler that I talked to you, and I'm sure he'll be happy. He does talk about you fondly all the time. So
that's awesome. He's a great guy. I saw him over the weekend, actually, over in Denver.
Yeah, he's a crazy guy.
He really is.
So, well, thanks to Larry again for coming on the show, and I think we're going to wrap up here now. This is Sharon Vornholt with the Louisville Gals Real Estate Blog, here with another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing.